So you've got to hear this dream somebody had, okay? So they sent me this dream on March 1st, 2024, which is what makes it so crazy. Um, so they're in an airplane and flying over some islands. They weren't supposed to be flying over some islands. So they're flying over these mountains and stuff like that. And then she looks out the window and she sees the ocean and she sees islands and then she sees St. Lucia flags. So it gets better. All of a sudden, the pilot of the airplane complains that the flaps in the airplane are not working, and he lands the airplane telling everyone not to worry because this airplane is also capable of driving like a car, and that they couldn't continue the journey by air, so they would continue the journey by land. And when she lands, the pilot comes out of the airplane, and it's P. Diddy. This was on March 1st, 2024, before all of this craziness with P. Diddy went down and all of this stuff happened. And she sent me the dream. And because I get so many dreams from so many people, sometimes I just, rush through some. And if I see something that's worth remembering, I remember it. Well, this one completely slipped my mind until last week. And then I could go back and check the text message, and there it was. So today I'll tell you the rest of the dream because it gets even creepier. Sometimes you have a dream and you don't realize how important it is because at the time it doesn't make any sense to you. Like, why on earth would a random woman in my church be dreaming of all people, P. Diddy? But then fast forward 6 months down the road and you realize, wait a minute, he's in the middle of the biggest scandal in our nation. In fact, it's not just a scandal, but in my opinion, it's a distraction that's being put in front of the public to just get the attention of the US public so that they don't really see what's actually happening in the government, in our economy, with this immigration crisis, in all of the issues that really matter. They take a back seat and a back burner to something as crazy as a superstar with 1,000 bottles of baby oil. Whatever kind of oil it was, I'm not following. But sometimes you will have a dream and you don't realize this might be a nationally important dream. This might be something that God is telling you that's not just relevant for you, or it might not be a taco dream, but it may be God giving information and instruction or even revelation about a situation to you or to people in your circle that can do something about it. And this is one of those dreams. That's why I tell girls all the time, and I tell you ladies, journal your dreams. You need to get up and write them down because you're not going to remember them. When God gives you a dream way in advance, and then all of a sudden, months later, here is somebody that you didn't even expect to dream in the spotlight. You can go back to your journal where you wrote that down and say, oh, because this same person, when I ask them, I say, so did P. Diddy say anything? She goes back to her phone to pull up where she wrote the dream down because she doesn't remember. And that's why I journal all my important dreams. Very recently, I had one about the Dodgers, the LA Dodgers. Didn't even know what kind of team that was. Honestly, I had never seen them play a game, never even heard, couldn't tell you if they were football or baseball. Sorry, I didn't follow it, so I didn't know. But in that dream, I saw a very specific person that I didn't recognize. And it's only when I woke up and I was talking to my brother later that day, he told me that that is the star player in the Dodgers, on the Dodgers team. And I dreamt him. So I know beyond the shadow of a doubt that one day, pretty soon, he's going to be all up in the media. We're going to hear things that will be so strange because of this dream I had. So what do you do when you wake up and you dream a politically charged figure, somebody of national importance, maybe somebody you would never meet in your whole lifetime, but here they are popping up in your subconscious, it seems, coming into your dreams in the night? What does that mean? Do you immediately need to find a way to get a message to them? Not necessarily, but you do need to journal it. You need to write it down, write down the symbols. If I ask this young lady, was there anything written on the airplane? She doesn't know. If I say, what did you see on this side of it? She wouldn't know. But if you draw these things down, if you write them down, if you're very specific about things in the dream, there would be details in there that nobody, not even the media, will know. But you would know. So let me tell you something else about the dream. So she's flying over St. Lucia, and the plane lands, and then P. Diddy comes out. And he explains that the flaps in the airplane are broken, so that they're gonna have to go by land. And they give them another kind of vehicle transportation to go in. And guess what it is? It's a tank, like a military warship. And this tank is painted half red. There's somebody painting the tank half red, and then there is a white line across it. And somebody hands her a can and says, of paint, and says, go finish painting the tank. And as she dipped her brush in the paint can that said red on it, she noticed that the paint was actually blue. And then she thought, how strange. The paint can says red, but the paint is actually blue. Now, if you dreamt something like that, you would think, oh, how weird. I don't paint. Why am I dreaming paint cans and military vehicles and P. Diddy and St. Lucia and what does... None of it seems to be tied up, does it? Unless you were living in 2024 October, United States of America. Then all of a sudden, all of these things are tied up. So how are they tied up? Well, P. Diddy is all over the news every day, all over social media. It's all anybody can think about, talk about. All of the news is about that. What else? We are on the verge, possibly with our next elections that are coming up in the first week of November, we are possibly going to become a very divided nation. But the painting of a military vessel, a warship, half red and half blue, but thinking that the blue was red when it was actually blue, talks about a deception. There is a major deception, a white line drawn in the sand, a division between the red and the blue, and the marking. Then why P. Diddy? Because he is there for a timestamp. When you see his high-flying life, when you see the things that he was in control of, the things that he was piloting, be forced to be grounded, it's forced to come down because it's broken, because it's not going to work the way it's been working, then that's when you know they're getting the warship ready. That dream shows you very clearly, well, it shows me anyway, that's what happened. So this gets even better. 5 days ago in the news, you hear that, hold on, let me find out his name. Do you know the name of that kid? Shine? Okay. So 5 days in the news, the news about Shine. Shine was in the news. Who's Shine? Well, he's this young artist who, remember back when J-Lo took a gun in her purse into a nightclub with P. Diddy, and then this kid got sunk for it, and somebody got shot in the nightclub, and Shine was the guy who P. Diddy testified against, the same kid that he said he was going to give a recording contract. He basically destroyed that kid's life. Well, fast forward many years later, and guess where Shine is? Anybody want to guess? Where he was when he pops up in the newspaper and what they're talking about? St. Lucia. I'm laughing because nobody can make this stuff up. I am telling you, this is how God puts pieces together. And people out there still trying to doubt it. And this dream was from March 1st. Right? And I mean, okay, if you dreamt the P. Diddy thing and the army thing and whatever, but the St. Lucia flag thing, how is that even... You can't make that stuff up. And so I believe, and I in fact, I've been preaching it to my church so loudly. I've been preaching it in other churches that I believe we are in the season where God said that he's about to pour his spirit upon all flesh, upon his servants, his handmaidens. And this is what he said. He said, they shall prophesy. You know, when I come back, I have a trip I'm going on, but when I come back, the Lord gave me a really exciting prophetic mandate for our church. I'm so excited. I'll share it with you probably next time in the podcast. But he said, everyone's going to prophesy. Paul said that. I wish that you all would prophesy. But not only that, God said, I'm going to pour the spirit of prophecy on your people. But not only that, dreams. Visions. And I know it says your young men shall see visions, your old men shall dream dreams. So we think that dreaming is an old person thing, but not necessarily. It wasn't about being age or gender specific. It was about saying everybody is going to be doing something in the spirit, that the spirit is going to be so overwhelming about with everyone that nobody's going to be excluded. I believe children are going to have prophetic dreams, and old men are going to have visions, and women and children and everybody all together. I believe that God's going to bring it together in such a ridiculous kind of puzzle that you will see the power of God demonstrated in this season. The harder things get here, the more evident the glory and the power of God is going to be in the earth. That's what I believe. So what about the tanker with a line down the middle? Why is there that white line down the middle? And this is, even as I prayed about the dream and I heard the Lord say, he said that people are trying to divide this nation. They want it to be blue against red. They want there are people that the powers that be want to reset America, to start it over, for it to look different, not just in the areas of immigration, which it already has. By the way, I went to the mall today and I realized in a few months, if you cannot speak Spanish in New York, you cannot live here. You will not be able to buy and sell because the majority of people are Spanish speakers. It seems that way in certain parts of New York, right? I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that times are changing swiftly. It's happening so quickly that we didn't even know it was happening. It happened right under our very noses. And the powers that be want a civil war to happen in this nation. But God's saying he's already put a white line. And I believe that is God's line. That is not a divisive line. That is the pureness. That is the people who are like, we are not about a party. We are not about a person. We're about God. When people ask me, so who are you voting for? I say, are you kidding? I'm not voting based on a person. I'm voting based on issues. I'm voting based on my beliefs and what I see as sacred, as sanctified, as ordained by God. And to me, human life and the sanctity of human life, there's nothing more valuable. I agree that we all should have rights and we have inalienable rights, but they were given to us by God. And there are so many people who never had a chance to exercise any rights, far less the rights over your own body, because they never had a chance to breathe. And so I will vote based on those principles, not just on an issue like abortion, but I will vote based on my beliefs on issues like immigration and my beliefs based on issues like economics. And if I feel like communism or capitalism is the right thing for our nation, I will vote based on my belief that America was founded on Christian values. This week, I got to go run 5 kilometers in Washington, D.C. for the last rain run, a 2-year run at all the gates of America. And, it's so funny because last week I was asking the Lord, Lord, why New York? While the world starts to fall apart, you put me in this city. I could have been anywhere. And he gave me a name. He said, because I called you a gatekeeper. Isn't that crazy? That God would call me a gatekeeper. That God would say I'm a gatekeeper, but I get it. I get it and I understand it. And so I got to run in Washington. And when I got to the Lincoln Memorial and went up there and started reading the inscriptions on the walls, that we were founded on these principles. All of it is scripture, by the way. Inalienable rights. Not only that, the men who fought for the abolition of slavery did so on the basis of the word of God and the sanctity of the lives of every human being. Not only that, the 10 Commandments are the basic moral tenets of all of the faith, all of the governance, all of the laws. Not only that, the pilgrims, the first immigrants who came here, and I'm not talking about what happened with the Native Indians, and that's a whole different discussion, but the people who colonized this nation to call it the United States of America, they were Christian. And not only that, America still, the greater population of the United States of America, they identify as Christian. So those are just some of the reasons. Those are just some of the reasons why when people say, don't call me red, don't call me blue, just put me in the middle. Put me where Jesus says, that we can be red or blue and still love one another, that we can still fight for the United States of America because we all live here. It's your land, it's my land, and not only that, every single human being, everyone has a right to life. Every single one. If we elect people to govern our land, can we just please elect the ones that will make choices that are good for our children and our grandchildren and our great grandchildren? So, in the dream that we have, I told you about today, how does it end? Well, she doesn't get in the tank. P. Diddy doesn't get in the tank. We don't know what happens. The paint never gets on. But maybe one of you hearing this podcast today has part two, and you never know. You never knew it. You thought you just dreamt a thing. But this podcast is to make you aware that maybe God would drop the next big clue. It feels like a whole big puzzle. It really does. In your dreams and in your sleep. And so I just wanted to share this with you because I thought how exciting. Every time God does stuff like this, I just wait for the next revelation, for the next thing he said. And by the way, if you don't have a dream journal, get one, right? And you might have your own one. You can use a regular book. It's fine. But if you want to know how I journal, at the preachergirltv.com store, there's some in there. And it's about, and it's so easy. We make it so simple for you to journal a dream with doodles and drawings and symbols and scripture, so that you don't have to write the whole thing like an essay, right? Girls, I believe that God's going to speak to us in this day, and he's going to prepare his people. And by the way, with P. Diddy, man, I feel like he's just the first. I feel like he's a scapegoat for a lot of people, but you know what's happening in Hollywood, right? Everybody's scared. Because he knows a lot of stuff about a lot of people. It's the difference between the blessings of the world and the devil and the blessings of God. Because when God adds blessing, he adds no sorrow with it. Anyway, preacher girls, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was short, but it was good. And I just want to wish you sweet dreams tonight. And don't ever forget that you don't need a pulpit. You just need a message. Because if God called you, no one can uncall you. See ya. Oh, don't forget to leave a comment, a thumbs up, like this podcast, subscribe to it, and please share it on your social media. Tell a friend about Preacher Girl TV. It's so much better to have community, and we're here, so let somebody know.